Again, Ms. Kotterman is next, and the question is, Proposition 100 has passed as a 3-year temporary bandage to the struggles of funding public schools in Arizona. What do you believe are the next steps?
Thanks, Joanne. I, too, was an incredible advocate of Proposition 100, but I started the journey about education funding nearly 2 decades ago when I was a teacher in the Tempe Elementary School District. Arizona's education funding system does not work to create adequate and equitable education for public education students all across the state. And the very first thing I believe that we need to do is create a common definition of that kind of adequacy and equity. And in order to do that, I'd go back to an activity that the Education Coalition has been doing for about the last year. That's an organization I have chaired along with Joanne's able facilitation, where we actually ask parents and community members and business leaders, what do you believe the outcomes for students, teachers, and schools ought to be? And we could not get common agreement. If you don't have agreement on where you want to go, it's really difficult to define what it is you want to do to fund it. So that's our very first step. That takes working with organizations and many, many other people to create a common definition and then move forward with a solution.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Huppenthal.
As has been mentioned, the passage of Prop 100 is only a Band-Aid. We are going to be in a world of hurt if our national economy continues along on the path that it is, because the history of Arizona is that the Arizona economy is basically double the national economy. National economy grows 3, we grow 6. National economy grows 0, we grow 0.2. It's been a rough relationship, but that's the general nature of it. We've got to get the national economy going. Now, one of the mysteries to me is we have a professor over at ASU that won the Nobel Prize in economics, and he won it for business cycle theory. And I have been very curious about what he discovered, and I've spent 3 hours sitting with him, talking to him. I read his book, and the message he has to deliver is being ignored on the national scene because it doesn't fit into current politics for either Republicans or Democrats. I'm going to make sure that his message gets delivered. Arguably, he's the smartest guy in the world at getting us out of this mess. And he's got some very distinct ideas and incredibly solid research to back it up. The other thing is you can't depend on the national stuff. You've got to take personal responsibility. And one of the things you got to do is you got to define the mission in terms of the value you're creating, not the cost you're imposing. When people get up in front of you and tell you that we rank 47th, 48th, 49th, 50th, and 51st, they're not doing the education system any favors. The Rand Corporation was given a $10 million grant in the mid-1990s to go through and assess all the states and rank them according to academics. Arizona schools, not Arizona students, Arizona schools ranked 19th. They've since updated that study twice, and in their most recent ranking, we ranked 21st. No improvement over the last decade, which also mirrors the most recent National Assessment of Educational Progress scores on our reading. We have to define the mission in terms of outcomes, and what we saw with Prop 301 is that when you do this and people feel that they're getting value for their money, then that's the way you engage the political system to get more funding. We create value, and then the money comes in. And it's roughly, let's create $2 of value and ask for $1 in return. And if we do that, there will be a lot of money and there's a lot of creativity that we can bring to the issue to get education funded in a much more fuller fashion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dugan.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is probably to dissuade some of the skepticism that the Proposition 100 had, and I would suggest that we have an audit after each year and make sure that the money that the voters voted on goes directly to the classroom, to the teachers, and to the students, so that we can prove to the voters of Arizona that's where the money of the taxpayers went to. And I think that would bring a lot of confidence in Arizona for our education. And I think that's first and foremost that should happen. Second of all, I think that the funding in Arizona supposedly is very complex. Nobody understands it. In fact, I heard that only 2 people in the whole state of Arizona understand the funding. To me, that's very disheartening and very sad that only 2 people understand it. So I would hope that we would put together, and I think ABEC's already started this, is a funding process that people can understand, that it's transparent, that all people that look at the funding of Arizona schools is transparent and very understandable. So that I think we need to start working with, and I think ABEC's already down that road, so that everybody in Arizona, the layperson to any educator, can look to see how the funding is done in Arizona. The third thing I think has always been needed in Arizona is a equitable salary scale for teachers. A teacher in Scottsdale and a teacher in Saskatoon should be paid equal salary. I have never understood why we have such a disparity in teacher salary. When we have all kids in Arizona should have a quality education and all students deserve a quality education, why do we have some teachers in some districts making $3,000 to $4,000 more than other teachers? I think that's inequitable, and we need to stop and make sure that all of our teachers have equitable salaries if we believe all kids can learn, and I think all of us believe that.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is, please describe your vision of parent involvement/family engagement. Will you lobby our congressional delegates to reinstate programs dedicated to family engagement within the ESEA, that's Elementary and Secondary Education Act? Dr. Price, you're first.
Oh, definitely. I will encourage every effort at getting together parents and the people that are running the schools, the teachers and counselors, because that is where it's going to make a difference with our children. Many of our children drop out at the 10th grade because they're bored. And where do they go from there? They go to drugs and other things. And I can't see any other way of bringing this together as teamwork rather than having parents work with the schools. Where I was before in the high school, they were not working with the school. They'd come and see the counselor and leave. That is not where we are in this world. You look on television, you look on the news, we are under attack, and we need to save our students. And that is why I am here.